Hello, thrill seekers. I got a question. Since before your sun burned hot in the sky and before your race was born, I have awaited a question. Special prize to anybody who knows where that's from. Okay, here we go. Here's the question. Hey Brad, there was a concept from, I think, Sit Down and Shut Up that Nishijima had taught on, and please forgive me, I'll probably butcher this, by which there's something like 4 perceptions happening at once. The subject views the object views the subject views the subject, and the object views the object. If that was clear enough, what was this called, and is there more I can read on it online? A downside of the audiobook is it's hard to go back and find these things. Many thanks. That's audiobooks, and I like Kindle because I carry a lot of books around, and it's easier to carry Kindle books around than real books like this. But I still carry real books like this around when I go on trips because, man, I have a hard time finding things in audiobooks and in Kindle books. A little easier in Kindle books, but, I think I know what he's talking about. And you would probably find it in my book, Don't Be a Jerk. So if you want to go look up Don't Be a Jerk, it's in there. But it is, I think what you're referencing, is something that comes up in Shobogenzo Volume 1 in the Nishijima Cross version, and probably other versions are near. It's Chapter 10, the 10th chapter of the standard version of Shobogenzo, Showakumakusa, Not Doing Wrongs, which I paraphrased as Don't Be a Jerk in my book, Don't Be a Jerk. And in that essay, we find a phrase that goes like this. Let me read you the whole bit. The whole thing is about not committing wrongs. So showakumakusa, the makusa is often translated as committing, doing something. Makusa means like making something happen. Okay? So that's what we're saying when we say not committed here. I'm kind of dropping you into the middle of an essay already in progress. Such things as an outdoor pillar, a stone, lantern, a whisk, and a staff are neither existence nor non-existence. So he's talking about material things are neither existence nor non-existence. It is not committing. That's that makusa. Learning and practice like this is the realized universe, and it is universal realization. We consider it from the standpoint of the subject, and we consider it from the standpoint of the object. When the state has become like this already, even the regret, I have committed what was not to be committed, is nothing other than energy arising from the effort not to commit. That's one of the most hopeful sort of lines in all of Dogen. So even when you feel like, oh crap, I did that thing I shouldn't have done, even that is arising from your desire not to do the wrong thing. So even regret is something to be celebrated. But to purport in that case that if not committing is so, we might deliberately commit wrongs is like walking north and expecting to arrive at the southern country of Etsu. So don't just do wrongs because you think it's okay to think that you shouldn't have done it. Okay. The relationship between wrongs and not committing is not only a well looking at a donkey, it is the well looking at the well, the donkey looking at the donkey, a human being looking at a human being, and a mountain looking at a mountain. So that is the line, and we got a couple of footnotes here. When he first says a well looking at a donkey, we see that it is a reference to a koan that appears in Shinji Shobogenzo, and in Shobogenzo the koan is translated like this. Master Sozan asks Acharya Toku, so the master and the student, it is said that the Buddha's true Dharma body is like space, and it manifests its form according to things like the moon reflected in water. How do you preach this principle of mutual accordance? Toku, the student, who is also a teacher because he's saying how do you preach this principle, says, it is like a donkey looking into a well. The master says, your words are extremely nice words, but they only express 80 or 90%. Toku says, what would the master say? Master Sozan says, it is like the well looking at the donkey. And Nishijima Roshi's comment is, the story expresses the mutual relation between subject and object. So, let's get even trickier and look at it in Shinji Shobogenzo. This is Dogen's collection of koans. He didn't actually compose these koans. These are old stories that he collected while he was in China and kind of stuck them into a book. And this is story number 25 in book 2, if you're looking at it that way. And this version says, Well, it has an interesting little variation in it that made me chuckle a little bit because of the kind of person I am. Master Sozan asked Acharya Toku, "It is said that the true universal body of the Buddhas is like space, and that the way it manifests itself in everything is like images of the moon reflected in the surface of water. What can we say that will explain the basic principle?" Acharya Toku says, "It is like an ass looking down a well." And Master Sozan says, "Although you have stated it very well, you have expressed only 80 or 90%. Acharya Toku says, "What about you, Master?" Master Sozan says, "It is like the well looking up at the ass." So I was thinking, like, I should title this video, Dogen talks about looking at asses, but I don't know if I'll do that. You can tell me if I did that, because you'll see what I titled it. You've seen it already, but I haven't seen because I haven't decided. Anyway, here's his commentary, Nishijima Roshi's commentary. Master Sozan explained the relative nature of the relationship between subject and object. We would normally say that an ass looks down into a well, but the principle of relativity in Buddhist theory says that the well also looks up at the ass. That is, the relationship between the well and the ass is always a mutual relationship. On one side is the ass, and on the other side is the well. They exist mutually, one in front of the other, an interaction that is not divided into two. So that's what he says. And just for poops and laughs, I looked it up on the John Daido Lori version. This is translated by Kazuaki Tanahashi and John Daido Lori, with commentary and verse by John Daido Lori. So he puts his name really big on there. I shouldn't talk ill of the dead, but anyway, I just want to show this to you to give you an idea how other teachers teach this stuff. Okay, so the koan itself, which I just read you twice, doesn't have any important variations. It's pretty much the same thing, but here's the commentary. This is John Daido Lori's commentary as opposed to Nishijima Roshi's commentary. Sacred and secular intermingled, dragons and snakes living together. Even the wise ones and sages cannot distinguish between them. Look at the great net of Indra. Whose face is it that's revealed in each diamond? Walking the razor's edge, the lotus blooms in the fire. Those who can see into it here not only save all sentient beings, but are saved by all sentient beings. And then the capping verse. When the teacher sees the student sees the teacher. For the student to meet the teacher, he must be the teacher. Isn't this the teacher meeting herself? Isn't this the student meeting himself? And then there's a bunch of little footnotes, which it's similar sort of thing. Reading that, I can't tell. I feel like John Daido Lori understood the koan a little bit, but he didn't quite get it. But even getting that much out of it is difficult because he's just obscuring it with so much flowery language that is... I don't know if he's trying to prove to the reader how much he can sound like ancient Buddhist writing. I'm sorry, I get annoyed by that, and I should stop saying it, and I should just be like at peace and be very zen about it. So let me give you my take on this whole thing. So it is the donkey looking at the well looking at the donkey looking at the donkey, the well looking at the well, a human being looking at a human being, and a mountain looking at a mountain. I think that's how Dogen says it. I got it right. So why does he say that? Well, I would relate it to the four philosophies in Nishijima Roshi's way of understanding Dogen, which here's another little pet peeve of mine, and somebody else mentioned this, another kind of known-ish, I don't want to attribute things that people say in private to me, but it was somebody who's pretty well-known in the Buddhist community, said, hey, how come nobody picks up on Nishijima Roshi's explanation of Shobogenzo in the terms of four views? Because that's so good. And I go, yeah, why don't they? You tell me why that doesn't get picked up on more. But he always looked at Shobogenzo as expressing things in often four views. Subjective, objective, action, and reality. SOAR is his little acronym, or somebody came up with that acronym to describe it. And it's a good acronym, and it helps. So the donkey looking at the well is subjective. So that's our normal way of looking at things is subjectively. I am looking at there's a barbecue thingy over there. My fiance's dad barbecues sometimes, and there's the barbecue thingy over there. So me looking at the barbecue thingy, or me looking at the computer, which is you guys, or something like that. Me looking at the thing. But then he says it's also the donkey looking at the well. Now, we don't think of it that way. We tend to think of objects like the book here, the John Dieter Laurie book, as being an inert thing, that a living a living organism looks at this inert thing. I mean, sometimes a living organism looks at a living organism, but more often than not, we're looking at things that are either inert or like the plants and things I can see around me. They might not be inert, but we don't think of them as looking back at us. So, in the Buddhist idea, though, the book is looking back at me, in a sense. Dogen had that phrase that I mentioned in an earlier video about the thousands of eyes on the tip of a stick, and the thousands of eyes in learning, and the thousands of eyes in this. So he's talking about this this thing as being. We don't say this book is sentient, but at the same time, this book is not a dead, inert thing that a living body looks at, not in the Buddhist way of understanding things. So, donkey looking at the well, that's me looking at the book, well looking at the donkey, book looks at me. Then let me make sure I get it all right and tell you the right thing. Well looking at the donkey. Then the next one is the well looking at the well, right? Yeah. The well looking at the well. So this has its own experience of its own thing. The well looking at the well. And that would be subjective attribute. That would kind of, I don't know if this slots in exactly, but that would be where the action part comes in. And then reality would be, the human being looking at the human being. The donkey looking at the donkey. Yeah. Donkey looking at the donkey. So my own experience of myself would be the reality part of it. Now, I don't know if this fits exactly in his SOAR framework like some of the things do, but I think it's another expression of the same idea, that the mutual relationship of things is all-inclusive. So we're all included in this, and we tend to make the mistake of saying that I am a living thing and everything else is sort of opposed to me. It's the other. It's the outside thing. And if we are reasonably nice people, we include human beings as being able to maybe together view things as, the inert. But the general way of looking at it through most of society is, if you can get that far, well, that's nice and that makes society improve. But we never take it the next step and say that the things are actually looking at us, that the things we interact with are actually part of this whole machine, and that they have their experience, the well looking at the well, and that we have our own sort of universal experience, the person looking at the person, the donkey looking at the donkey. That's what he's talking about. And I know that sounds pretty crackers probably to some of you folks out there, but that's fine. It's something that I had to work with a lot to finally get it, and there's probably no way in 15 minutes I can kind of give you the whole deal where everybody who's watching this could understand it, but that's the idea. And if you want to see more of it, that I comment on it, you can look at my book Don't Be a Jerk, or look at Shobogenzo, Showakumakusa, Not Doing Wrong. So there are other translations of it, so you can look at not just the Nishijima cross translation, but other translations. And there's probably other places you can look it up, but I don't know where they are, but maybe other people have commented on that section of Showakumakusa. 2, Ziggy is inside. He wouldn't come outside, but now he's barking at me because he hears me outside and he's inside, so maybe I'll go see what's going on with him. Anyway, if you want to donate to me being able to buy treats to placate Ziggy when he's inside and I'm outside, you can send donations to the URL you're seeing on the screen. That is my only way of making a living, and I really appreciate those of you who support me. But if you don't want to support me, you don't have to. All the people who write in and complain that I'm asking for donations, you don't have to donate. You can just watch it for free. So enjoy it for free, but I do appreciate those of you who do donate, so thank you very much for that. You're keeping it going. Have a good time all the time. See you later. Bye. Were you barking at me when you heard me outside? You want to come outside with me? You can come outside with me. Or you can stay inside and bark at me. Either way is fine. Okay, you want to stay inside? It's cooler inside.